can watch the Hall of Fame game tomorrow night. It'll be on NBC and Peacock. They start at 7 Eastern. Tony Dungy will be part of the festivities. A Hall of Famer joining us from Canton, Ohio. Tony, looking good. How you doing?
Thank you, Dan. Long time no see.
Do you have a Colts jacket on there? What? Any
this
teams?
is Hall of Fame.
Oh, okay. And now is your gold jacket there?
It is. Yes, I brought it this year.
Oh, okay. It's not like the Masters where you leave your green jacket there. You don't.
No. You get to keep it, take it around, and a lot of people want you to wear it to different events, and it's pretty cool.
How often do you wear it socially?
Probably 4 or 5 times a year, just at events that people ask you to wear it or bring it. It's not something I just wear casually day to day, but a lot of people like to see it.
Todd said that you were at the officiating meeting. So
yes.
What's the point of emphasis for officials this upcoming season?
A lot of player safety, obviously, just looking at ways to make the game safer. A lot of discussion on the kickoff. Kickoff's still the most dangerous play percentage-wise in football. There's a lot of pushback from the special teams coaches on fair catching in the field of play. But I think the competition committee, again, just trying to see how they can make the game safer.
But they wear these helmets, these protective shells in practice. If they know that helps protect the players, then why don't they make a helmet so they can wear that in the game, Tony?
You're reading my mind. That was a question I asked the NFL office. They showed us this data that players wore these shells in practice, reduced concussions 22% in practice. If I'm a player, I would say, if that's true, let me wear it in the game. And they should be allowed to wear it in the game. I don't know if that's coming, but that was the exact question I asked.
Yeah, I watch it, and it looks odd, but I think anything, sometimes we'll see things and go, oh, my gosh, that's odd. I'm sure that the guys who played with, helmets with no face mask looked at guys wearing a face mask and go, boy, that looks weird. And then all of a sudden, hockey players had to wear a helmet, or running backs were wearing shields on, all these things that seem like they're strange. Yeah. Can they design a helmet that you could wear the helmet and it's going to, further ensure safety? I don't know.
Absolutely. And that's what we should be after. And yes, it doesn't look good. It doesn't look as cool. But if I'm a 25-year-old player and I'm going to play 10 years and I'm going to take 200 hits to the head during the course of my career, and this is going to give me a 50% less chance to have a concussion, I would do it.
Help me understand the coaching community. Sean Payton has his comments about Nathaniel Hackett. And Hackett, of course, now with the Jets, and Sean taking over in Denver. What do you think the strategy was, if there was, with Sean to say this?
Well, I think the strategy was, I'm going to prop up my team. I'm going to build up my guys that are here. You weren't as bad as people thought last year. I'm behind you. I'm with you. And we all do that in private. I was very surprised that Sean took it public. Hey, when I went to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 1996, Warren Sapp was his rookie year being taken out on third down. John Lynch was a backup linebacker, and Derek Brooks was playing over the tight end, getting swallowed by 250-pound tight ends. I told those guys, hey, we've got a different system now. You guys will fit this like a glove. You should be multi-year Pro Bowlers. But I didn't go out and say, these guys were used wrongly. This was poor coaching. No, I mean, you say that to your players and you build them up. But there's a certain respect for each other in the game that you don't say that publicly.
Well, it's like, remember when you were doing Football Night in America and we were showing clips of Rex Ryan at Hard Knocks, and you came out and said that he could never coach on your staff or be part of your staff. And that almost felt like it broke the code, that you were talking out of school about another coach, even though you weren't coaching anymore.
Right. And that's what I think that's the difference. And Sean said, well, I had my Fox hat on. Well, you aren't working for Fox now. And I got paid to say things like that. I still get paid to give my opinion. And that's tough. You don't always want to do that, but you have to be on, and you're the best at it because you had asked me questions. You know, I'm not going to lie to you. So you asked me questions to put me on the spot. But that's my job at that point. But I would certainly answer differently if I was coaching as opposed to broadcasting.
How do you think Hard Knocks impacts the Jets?
I think they've got enough professionals that they get around it. I would have never wanted to be on Hard Knocks. I think anytime you introduce the cameras, it brings another element to the game that you really don't want, another distraction. You have to be careful about what you say. Your quarterbacks have to be careful about what they talk about, all those things. So, but I think the Jets are approaching this really well and professionally, and they're going to be okay. I just, to me, it was a worry that I never wanted in training camp.
Talking to Tony Dungy, Hall of Fame head coach. We had Steve Young on last week, and he said that this would have been his era. Like, this style of football would have been great for Steve Young because he would have been encouraged to run, and he was also a great passer. But he said something that really stood out. He said, the days of Dan Marino and Peyton Manning are done at that position.
I think he's right. And I remember when I was a young coach and I would do college clinics and talk about all these defenses that we ran. And the college coaches would always end, well, what if the quarterback runs? What do you do? And I would have to say, we don't worry about that because no one runs. Well, now all of a sudden you bring that element into it and you get a Patrick Mahomes that you defend everything right. John Elway was the first one. He gave me headaches. That way you defend everything. He moves around for 10 seconds, hits a guy down the field or runs for 20 yards, and it breaks down your whole defense. Well, now you've got to deal with these quarterbacks that run. It restricts what you can play defensively. It helps the receivers. It helps everything. And that mobile quarterback has an advantage, and coaches understand that now. So they're not telling the guy, oh, Fran Tarkenton, stay in the pocket, don't scramble. They're saying, oh, no, this is an advantage now.
Well, could you see a team featuring a running game and de-emphasizing throwing the ball 30 times?
No, I think you're beyond that. Just with the way the rules are, it's so easy to throw now, and you're getting these great receivers. You're getting quarterbacks who've thrown the ball thousands of times in college, and so you've got to utilize that. And it is the way to strike quickly. Now you've got to have a running game. You look at all these teams that have won the Super Bowls the last 15 years. You've got to be able to run, but throwing the ball, scoring points. That's the way the league is set up now.
If I said you could put one player in the Hall of Fame who's not in the Hall of Fame, who would it be?
Wow, there's a lot of guys. This senior class this year that's going in, I'm really happy for some of those guys. Albert Lewis is. I'm kind of on that bandwagon. I coached Albert Lewis for 3 years. He was incredible, and he doesn't get the credit because we didn't win a bunch of Super Bowls. We didn't have we played in a small market, but he was probably the best one-on-one cover guy I've ever been around.
If you were coaching Peyton and going against Darrelle Revis, do you have to tell him we're not going in that direction? Did you ever do
Not necessarily. No, there's certain things, and he would do it. I mean, he'd stay away from it. If he had a better matchup somewhere else, he'd go there. I can remember playing against Champ Bailey, and Reggie Wayne catches 12 balls for 200 something yards. We only threw 2 balls to Marvin that week because we had a successful matchup. But now, if they're going to tip everything over away from Bailey or away from Revis and say we're just going to leave him one-on-one, then you've got to take some shots over there. But it really is, where do you have the best chance to succeed? And most of the time with Revis, it's with going after the other guy.
Yeah, but I don't think Peyton would admit that he would have stayed away from Darrelle. Like, he wouldn't say that publicly, do you think?
No, he would just say, we had better options. And that's what he said. We threw 15 balls at Rock Alexander and made 250 yards. I don't need to throw at Champ Bailey. But now if you help Alexander and you tip the coverage over there and you make me throw at Bailey, we've got some things that we can do. And that's the way Peyton would approach it. But he would be smart and he would just pick his spots.
When you coached Peyton, were you faster than Peyton?
Probably the first part of my career, yes.
If you ran
Not at the end, but at the beginning.
oh
At the
no,
beginning.
Peyton at the end against you at the end, 40-yard dash.
Well, yes, and I got there in 2002. I might have been able to get in by 2007 or 2008. I could.
What is the biggest concern or team looking at this year of just we've talked about Buffalo, that window here. They've lost some starters. It feels like it's now to win. The Bengals, are they going to be able to keep all those receivers? Is that window now? Kansas City, we know that window is now. Philadelphia is in that window. Is Dallas in that window? The Niners in that window. It feels like you got 7 or 8 teams. Now we should be thinking about the Super Bowl.
Yeah, you do. And I heard you ask the question in the previous, do you talk about it? Yes, you talk about it. That's our goal, and we want to win it. You mentioned Cincinnati. They still got Joe Burrow on that first contract. That's when you got to strike. You look at all these quarterbacks, the Russell Wilsons. You win when you've got that great quarterback on his first contract. Now, when you have to pay him, you're going to start losing players, and that's going to make it more difficult. So, yeah, I think Cincinnati is a team that I think needs to strike.
When's the last time you asked a Hall of Famer for an autograph?
I got Earl Campbell a couple of years ago for my brother-in-law. My brother-in-law just loves Earl, and so, hey, Earl, I don't like to do this, but I need you.
How's Earl doing?
And he's last time I saw him last year, he had the walker, and that's tough to see. It really is, but he was gracious and still funny and doing well.
Yeah, I saw him years ago, and he was in a wheelchair, and
Yeah.
you just look like that's why we talk about running backs getting paid. I mean, nobody takes more of a beating than they do, but I just can't imagine how anybody changes anything with this. If let's say you're coaching Josh Jacobs, what would you say to Josh Jacobs?
You have to play ball and you have to strike while the iron's hot, and you get as much as you can get. I talked about this on social media the other day. Mike Florio made a comment about it. It's not new. Our Super Bowl year, Edgerrin James was going to be a free agent. He had come back from knee surgery, had a 1,500-yard year for us in 2005. Best running back that I've been around in terms of doing everything, running inside, outside, catching the ball, pass protection, and a phenomenal teammate. Bill Polian says, we either have to sign Edgerrin before he gets to free agency, because once he gets on the market, we're not going to afford him. We'll have to get him at a deal less than he should deserve, or we can let him go. It's going to be a great year for running backs. We'll get Maurice Jones-Drew, Joseph Adai, or Lawrence Maroney for much less money, and then we'll take that extra money and we'll re-sign Dwight Freeney, Dallas Clark, and Reggie Wayne.
Wow.
Well, that was a tough deal. And Edgerrin was the heart and soul of our team. After I slept on it for 3 or 4 days and talked with Jim Earth, we have to do that. So we went to Edgerrin. Hey, we're going to let you go. He got paid big money by Arizona, but we had another running back come in, not Edgerrin James, but played well enough for us to go to a Super Bowl, and then stayed as a Super Bowl contender for a number of years, just because you use your money wisely. And that's what you have to do. And that's what I tell Josh Jacobs. Hey, you got to play, and it's not fair, but that's life.
Good to talk to you, and have fun there in Canton. Hopefully it's not too hot with the Hall of Fame induction ceremonies.
It's in the afternoon again. Rondé Barber, one of my former players, is going in, so looking forward to it.
Hey, great to talk to you, Tony. Thank you.
Thanks, DP. Yep.
Tony Dungy, Hall of Famer, joining us from Canton, Ohio.